This is a podcast or something like that. Hey, welcome to the podcast, and I'm going to talk now. This is essentially what the podcast is. If you've listened to it, you're like, yeah, thank you for catching me up, but I do understand, is what you're thinking. And if you're new to the podcast, you're thinking, whoa, could you say that again? That was a lot of information. So yes, basically I'm going to be talking. It's like a video, but there's no visual content. Actually, there is. Check it out. Look in front of you and stare at what you see. And that is the visual content for this podcast. So sort of transcending boundaries here. And here on the Verbal Journal. So welcome. I'm What's. I'm on the Verbal Journal. Today I'll be hosting it, as I usually do. I tend to host this podcast. No one else wanted to do it. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll start it. This is week 2 of this ramshackle pop filter for the mic. This horrible piece of pre-broken junk that I bought on Amazon that is being held together with a rubber band that, I'm just trying to find the right tension of rubber band to hold this pop filter just the right distance away from the microphone. And that's so I can say, persuasion and popular and practice and people and, porcupine and, it was funny, last week I did actually pop or max out the mic really bad and pop the mic even with the pop filter while I was trying to demonstrate what the pop filter did. It was a huge L. Speaking of huge L's, one of the first things we're going to talk about today on the Verbal Journal is, I released a new video. I talked about that last weekend. I'll talk about it some more, obviously. Last weekend I think I had gotten a few 100,000 views and it was amazing, and now it's still amazing. It's reached even so many more people, and there's more people here on the Patreon even. So there might even be several people listening to this podcast right now, and it's absolutely mind-blowing to think about how far the Verbal Journal has come since the early days. Today it's episode 16, and guess what? I am canceling the tradition of looking up and checking the number of the episode. That tradition is canceled. We are no longer going to doubt the number and check the number. I don't like that tradition anymore. It was a tradition where I would say, oh, what episode number is it? And I would know, but I would have to check to just make sure. And it was kind of funny, and people were definitely cracking up for sure. There was a lot of laughter emanating from the ether. But it was decided by the higher-ups here at What's Therapy Corp to basically say, no, we're not comfortable. We're not comfortable with that general aesthetic and idea. Sorry, I just got distracted because the pop filter was falling away from the microphone. So not going to continue that tradition. I do know that it's episode 16. And look, maybe one day I'll be wrong and we'll have to cross that bridge. We'll get to that bridge and we will go across it. But for now, this is where we're at. But for the first thing, speaking of taking L's, so in my live stream, I did a live stream last night on YouTube, and I followed up on the video, and I talked about all kinds of cool stuff and had tons of people hanging out. It was the biggest live stream I've ever done. I think it hit a peak of 400 people, but it had an average of well over 300 people for the whole time. So super cool. Tons of fun conversation. Sucks that the chat is not preserved again because there was one copyright issue, one segment I had to trim. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, late night verbal journal. It's a late night verbal journal. That's what's going down. So I'm not drinking coffee. I'm drinking, well, this is actually weird, but I'm actually drinking Gatorade because I just had some leftover Gatorade and I kind of wanted some Gatorade. You know what I mean? Well, it's not that weird, but you know, it's a little weird to just be sipping on some Gatorade. But anyways, so one of the things, and actually the first thing I addressed in my stream last night, which it was the first thing I addressed because I wasn't going to address it, and then I just at the last second was like, you know what, I'll just bring it up. It was I literally decided not to address it because I got a few comments on the video, people just commenting the word haphazard, okay? Or haphazard. That's what we're going to talk about, actually. Few people commenting the word, and I was like, what are they commenting? Because the way they were commenting it made me think I had typed the word on the screen and misspelled it. But when I talked about it on stream last night, and I realized, oh, of course, I was mispronouncing it. So, long story short, I guess it's haphazard, and it's not haphazard. It's not haphazard because it's, even though PH makes an F sound, I guess it doesn't in this context. And etymologically, it does come from, like hap, not half. So it's haphazard. And it's true that people say that. And so, but the thing is, like, I don't know. I mean, you know, I'm not going to apologize for having the wrong impression. Like, I didn't make this up. Okay. And so look at this. Okay. We're going to watch a brief 40-second clip. How to pronounce haphazard. Real life examples by American Pronunciation Guide YouTube channel. And what this video will show, interestingly, is a blend. The answer is both and, okay? So let's check it out.
These flow states, so that they're not haphazard, fleeting, ephemeral states, but that they...
So one for me, but this guy's, you know, it's like, do you want him on your team?
They become part of the human experience on a daily basis.
Of hundreds of thousands of people, haphazard and brutal.
Okay, so the first guy was like an overly passionate something or other. This guy's a super academic, like nerd in a tie with, you know, he's just... So, but okay, so one for the opposite team. No problem with being a nerd. I'm a nerd too. I'm just saying this, you know, I'm just saying whose side are you on? There's, you know, there's the haphazards and the haphazards, and okay, it's the wolves and the sheep. I'm just saying.
As they moved through...
Wait, let's play that. Let's play that back again, the second one.
They become part of the human experience on a daily basis.
Sorry, that was the first one.
Hundreds of thousands of people, haphazard.
Haphazard.
And brutal.
Okay. I mean, I guess people say it that way. You'll see a lot more examples. Check this out.
They moved through Anatolia and eventually...
This is Barack Obama.
The truth is the history of our immigration system has always been a little bit haphazard.
Okay, so Obama's on the opposite team. You know, my position's starting to look not that good. You know, when Obama's on the opposite team, I mean, and it's about how to say words.
$50 billion. And while looking back, this may seem haphazard, it is part of President Trump's strategy.
Is some sort of Bloomberg video.
And this is just the beginning. Enigmatic. You know, it's kind of like peak experience, this haphazard phenomenon.
Okay, I'm not joking. I'm pretty sure this is the same guy as the first guy. Holy shit. Hold on. Wait a second. My computer's like locking up a little bit. I genuinely think this is the same guy. He has very similar...
So that they're not haphazard, fleeting, ephemeral states, but that they become...
He's a unique nose. I think it's the same guy. His sideburns are a little different.
You know, it's kind of like peak experience, this haphazard phenomenon that
can't be the same guy, right?
sometimes emerges and sometimes it doesn't. But as
title.
I'm so confused if that's the same guy. His hair is very similar. He slightly different facial hair in the first one, a little bit thicker eyebrows, but
enigmatic. You know, it's kind of like peak experience.
That's the second
this
one.
haphazard phenomenon.
Fleeting ephemeral states, but
That's
that they
the
become
first
part of
one.
the human experience.
Enigmatic. You know, it's kind of like peak experience. This
I don't know. I mean, it really, really seems similar.
haphazard phenomenon that some
But anyways, he's on my team, or both of them if it's two people. I guess. I hope it's two people, so they're both on my team, and they didn't just use this one. It's just me and this one guy.
sometimes emerges and sometimes it doesn't. But
Is this guy me? Actually, were they filming me?
Title. Hazard. Haphazard. Okay, that's good. That's good. Thank you.
Wait, what? Was she just corrected?
hazard phenomenon that sometimes emerges and sometimes it doesn't. But as
Title. Hazard. Haphazard. Okay, that's good. That's good. Thank you.
Haphazard. Okay, so people say haphazard, and that's what the word is. It's haphazard. But I think I am part of the revolution, okay? I think I am part of the revolution. So you can join me and say haphazard, or you can be part of the, the common path, I guess we could say, And it's just, I think that's a choice, and yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, this just happens with words, right? This is just a thing that happens with language. Words change over time. I don't know what percent of the population says it the way I do. I'm sure that I will look into it and give you updates on that eventually. And we'll cross that bridge if and when we get to it. Are there more examples?
They happen to have in this bank.
I assume, incredibly haphazard and
Okay, another political one.
and really sort of just as much of.
They pause. I feel like people aren't really confident about it, but okay, that's how you pronounce it. That's one video. Should I find another? Are there more? How to pronounce haphazard. Oh, is it British? Am I doing the British way? Let's see. This is the British one in British English.
Haphazard.
No, that's even fucking more the other way. Holy shit. Okay, here's another. American.
Haphazard.
No, I'm not American either. And that's a robot. Are Americans robots? Here's another.
We are looking at how to pronounce these weird and more confusing vocabulary.
Holy shit. What a voice. Let's zoom forward in this 40-second video.
Stay tuned to the channel to learn more. But stress on that second hazard. Channel to learn more. Haphazard is.
Okay. Yeah, there's no world in which I'm correct. It's just a thing a few people do, I guess. Here we go. Last one.
Haphazard.
Okay, a huge L for me, okay? And I take it. I'm wrong. There's clearly a very, very small set of people changing how this word is pronounced, and I am part of them. And I should just stop, okay? I should just conform, okay? I should just live in a normal house like everyone else and not a haphazard one. I just thought it always made sense because it's like you're haphazard. You're not full hazard, but you're haphazard. I knew it wasn't spelled HALF. I didn't really actually think it means that. I think I'm joking. I guess that's how PH is always pronounced. And I definitely hear people say that. But maybe not. Haphazard. Haphazard. No, I don't feel like I've ever heard someone say haphazard until all those clips I just showed, which were all the clips that came up. Anyways, that's life. Sometimes sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. So one segment we have here on the pod is the mail room. The mailroom, I guess I'll call it, in relation to Better Call Saul. So here in the mailroom, people send in mail to verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com. you can please send in a mail. Very often I don't get mail, and I did not today. So very short segment, very often very short segment. So please feel free to email in verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com. And you can let me know what you think about the podcast episodes or anything, or the videos, or any questions or comments or whatever. Another segment, one second. I was biking around today, and my legs are souped, which is not a word. Another segment here on the pod is where I check my weekly screen time report that I get. And it's always very interesting to see. It's always very, very, very interesting. We get a lot of very interesting insights. But, I don't see it because I opened it up earlier, so I don't know how to pull it back up. Oh, here it is. Okay. Yeah, so my last week was 5 minutes less than the week before's daily average of screen time. It was 45 minutes on my phone, daily average, which is more than I would think because I use my computer a lot too. So that's kind of a lot. I used YouTube a fair bit. I watched some videos this past week on my phone. Must have been like if I was like cooking or in the other room or something. Maybe out sometimes, but not that much. I don't think I, watch YouTube videos on my phone when I'm out like all that often. I don't know. I'm not like on public transport a lot or anything. Anyways, Messages app, okay, and then YouTube Studio. Fuck, that's what bumped it for sure. I used YouTube Studio a total of 44 minutes in the past week. That's never been one of the top apps. Yeah, that's because, you drop a video, you're checking YouTube Studio a lot. Maybe I should check YouTube Studio right now. That would be a fun sort of segment. Should we add that to the segments arsenal? I don't. Basically, every time I look at YouTube Studio, it's just like a complete trip. Like right now, I have 32,400 subscribers on the dot. I've got 920,000 views in the last month, which is wild. Just a few weeks ago, I was talking on the pod about having 30,000 and 40,000 views in the previous month from those moments. And so it's really nice how making a new video and putting a lot of work into it has attracted a ton of attention to, to this stuff that I produce. Very nice how, people seem to really be positively affected. And I mean, just people leave very, very nice comments. Yeah. The worst comments I get are people roasting me for how I pronounce haphazard. I mean, I guess I'll change how I pronounce it. Haphazard. I don't know. This is going to be a big struggle for me, but I might just keep pronouncing it haphazard. Until the government steps in, If the government tries to force me, maybe then I'll buckle. Because I don't know. If like the FBI is knocking down my door and they're like, put your hands in the air, pronounce the word. I'm like, okay. I'd probably say okay. So yeah, that's YouTube Studio. that's YouTube Studio. And what else? Oh yeah, one random thing I thought about with my YouTube videos in this past week is like my video about the Immaculate Conception of Little Dizzle, the really good movie, The Immaculate Conception of Little Dizzle. That was one of my last videos before the Better Call Saul series. And I was just looking at my thumbnails the other day, And I realized how that one, like, I used the face of that guy because it's such a perfect, like, excited face, which everybody loves online, you know, whatever. And there's all these names for it. But what I realized the other day is like, oh, it's funny that that's like a super, super minor character. And to do a video on such an unknown movie and not even just use the protagonist's image in the thumbnail to at least get that recognition is just a very bizarre choice. And it's really it's such an awesome, I love it. I mean, it's just really funny, but yeah. It's so easy to look at it and be like, it's so much should be the protagonist. It really should be the protagonist. And I think I got that image from a screenshot. It's all blown out. I tried to sharpen it. It's like, you know, I could probably get a super high quality image of the protagonist. You know, should I do that right now? Let's see. The Immaculate Conception of Little Dizzle. Yep, that's it. I can't spell. Images. What's the main character? Should I type in the main character or it's just gonna show up? Yeah. Oh no, the first thing they show up is a fish in a toilet bowl. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of hard to find like good high quality images. David Russo is the director. What does it say? David Russo. Okay, well, large. Now I search just for large images. These aren't even that large. Nah, I'm not changing this shit. Oh, that would be good. He's not the main character. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there are a lot of images that would better represent the movie, but I think my sort of way of doing it better represents like the weirdness of my video. So I'll just leave it. It's really cool and excited. It gets you super hyped. And he is the evil boss, like, of the evil corporation. So yeah, I released that video end of year 2021. So not this past year, but the year before. And yeah, then a little bit after that, I released a painting video and a guitar video. And then, you know, Better Call Saul. It's been straight up Better Call Saul. 8 Better Call Saul videos, 1 Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul video. Because it can't be denied that I did talk about Better Call Saul. I mentioned this on stream, but I'll talk about it here too. Like, one of the funniest, I didn't really go into super depth about it on stream, I don't think. But one of the funniest things that I've gotten as a comment that also was like a criticism was like 1 or 2 or 3 people saying you actually didn't really talk that much about what it was like to watch Breaking Bad after having watched Better Call Saul. And like, okay, I get where people are coming from when they say that, because I think I definitely could have gone into that more and been more intentional about doing that. I guess I just did that a little intentionally and then figured it would kind of filter out of whatever else I said in some sort of general way. But I don't mean that as a cop-out. I just didn't... Someone was like, I can't imagine I'm going to say that I got clickbaited by a 3-hour video. I certainly didn't mean to clickbait, but I think in a sense, like, I'm using my own experience. I'm like exploiting the fact that I've, I have this unique experience. I just didn't ever get around to watching Breaking Bad. And so it's like, but at the end of the day, it's very clear to people. I'm not some expert on these shows. Like, You know, I might know them slightly better than the casual fan, but, you know, people know these shows more than I do. I just have my own perspective. So, yeah. Yeah, and that first Better Call Saul video has 263,000 views from, a year and a half ago. And then the second one has 605,000 views from, little under a year and a half ago. And then the new one has 824,000 views in 9.5 days. It's really just a bizarre sort of experience. So, yeah. Just still kind of soaking that in. Yeah, so today on the podcast, I wanted to talk about... one thing I've been doing is I've been reading more scientific articles. I've been reading about different treatments for OCD that I was not really aware of, like inferential-based treatment, I believe it's called. Inference-based therapy. And it's just an interesting sort of different model. A little bit different than ERP, which is the more widely accepted model, but inference-based therapy seems evidence-based and very interesting and very like hyper-rational, which is sort of how I am with my own mental health, and so it's helpful for me to find modalities and frameworks that are similar to how I might see things, and so this sort of encourages, therapists and clients to really think through the premises and the rationales of, how OCD and intrusive thoughts can basically hijack our doubting mechanisms and basically make us feel that we need to take seriously even the, slightest doubt. Even like with me saying I don't want to doubt, the number of the podcast episode, I don't have OCD, but I do sometimes have checking like compulsions. I've sort of talked about it a little in the video about Adam Sandler that I did, but it's not like I've never had it be like to a level that interferes with my life, but I do have like some sort of irrational checking that comes from anxiety sometimes. And I think a lot of people do. And, it's just, it comes in waves and it's different degrees and stuff. But yeah, I do really think it's worthwhile to understand how mental health really looks and works for you yourself. It doesn't have to mean perfect rationality. It can be just, understanding how to work with your own sort of irrationality. And just an interesting modality I was reading about. I want to do more reading about like neuroscience and stuff too. I want to do a lot more reading in general, but especially professional development. It's really worthwhile and useful. It makes me feel more confident as a provider when I'm more and more informed with current research. You do just have to do that yourself, and you don't get paid for it, but you have to just do it because it's beneficial, and it's kind of enjoyable too. Just gonna make sure I'm making time. I got some breaks during my day tomorrow. Instead of just cycling through chess and stuff, maybe I'll do some reading. I'll actually be at the office tomorrow, so I'll probably be reading. I have my Robert Wyatt book at the office. I'm reading a book about Robert Wyatt's life. He's a musician who was in the Soft Machine back in like the 60s. And has had his own music for many years, and he's super good. And reading this authorized biography with like interviews with him and like all kinds of stuff from like people in his life. I'm just learning so much. I did not realize like he toured in America for the first time with Jimi Hendrix. He opened for Jimi Hendrix a ton of dates. and toured together, like during like the end of the 60s, during like when there was like tons of like unrest, like civil unrest in the US. And yeah, he was just like a interesting person, flawed person too. And I haven't made it that far yet in the book, so there's a lot to come. Actually, yeah, I'm actually a little wondering about a big thing that I know happens in his life, and I'm like, oh, when is that gonna happen? Because I thought I remembered learning that I think he's like paralyzed from the waist down, and I'm like, oh, when's that gonna happen? And it's crazy because he was a drummer too, so it's never good to get paralyzed from the waist down, but especially if you're a drummer, it's extra sad. But he did make so much amazing music in the years since then. So much. Some albums that are some of my favorite albums. I mean, just his whole solo career. Comic opera, Sleep. I don't know. The album names are weird. The songs are so good. Free Will and Testament. I actually might make a video about Robert Wyatt one day. But I don't know. Yeah. Can't make a video about everything just because it's good and, interesting, I guess. So, I guess, what else did I want to talk about? The Discord's been good. If you're listening to this and you support the channel and you didn't know we have a Discord, feel free to hop in the Discord. The link you can access, I should probably repost it on the YouTube members page, but you can like scroll down or up or whatever and find it in the past. Same with the Patreon, or on the Patreon, you can go to the tags, go to Discord. But yeah, the YouTube members, you gotta scroll probably. I should post it again. But there's not much going on in the Discord, but we have been, having a little fun, a little chat, some new people joining, and that's been very pleasant and nice. I was thinking about how different platforms like create different styles of expression when you think about Discord versus Twitter. Obviously Twitter just changed like, oh, you're not limited to characters anymore, as long as you pay $8 a month. Twitter is now completely different. It's just a totally different service that attracts totally different people who want it for a totally different reason. It was always useful professionally, but usually not the means of influencing, usually like a means of connecting and then like augmenting other modes of influence like YouTube or other mediums or, real life pursuits, journalism, stuff like that. It just seems like people are now just trying to like, I don't know. I don't know how much you can market and sell a Twitter when that's what a Twitter page, when that's what Twitter becomes for people who are using it. It's hard to even use. I don't know. It's just, it's like there's this huge schism in the website. It's weird, like to even see someone paying for it just feels bizarre. And to replace like even a flawed verified system, like to just replace the attempt at verifying. I mean, I guess they still don't allow impersonation, right? But like, I don't see why it's good to have paying money be a, oh, it like helps prevent bots. I'm sorry. No, I don't. But that's the point of verification is not to determine that someone's not a bot, though, Those are kind of separate issues. And you have to be able to determine that people are not bots without making them pay. And at the end of the day, like, you know, if someone wants to pay for Twitter, people pay for, you know, all kinds of stuff. I just think it's very interesting to think how, like, the thing you're paying for itself, here's what the case was and what the case still is. You offer free content to Twitter. You are working for them for free by posting on Twitter. It's a good reason to not post that often, to be honest. So the idea that you should pay, it's like, how was value created? Was it worth paying for before and that just had not been harnessed? Or was it a different product before? And like what changed with the product that now it's worth paying for? $8 a month is not nothing. It's not a lot. It's certainly not enough to recoup losses of advertisers leaving, because now it's okay. I mean, really, it's okay to just say whatever bigoted shit you want to say. You can literally call for the death of vulnerable populations. I mean, it's ridiculous. I was just having a little bit of Gatorade. But regardless of my gripes with, and look, it wasn't like Twitter was a fucking wonderland before. I'm not trying to defend old Twitter, but holy shit. Like, how do you just turn a product out of something where it had previously and still is? It's just existed as something where you are giving to it to create it. The idea that you should have to give more to continue giving to it to create it is just bizarre to me. It would be like if I had to pay to have a YouTube channel. That just seems really strange. And you could say, well, I am paying because, you know, YouTube gets a huge cut of the revenue. But, you know, I don't know. That's more complicated and not how YouTube sees it, I'm sure. But yeah, what I was trying to say is that, you know, different, even with the change in character limits, even if you pay for Twitter, which, you know, no one's going to take you seriously if you pay for Twitter. But even if you do, like, these different platforms motivate completely different tendencies of communication. Like Discord, I just think the fact that, like you have to, like, scroll back if you want to, like, catch up on conversation. I'm in the, you know, chat for my fantasy baseball league, which, by the way, I lost last week by a very small margin, and I'm losing this week by a big margin. You know, I'm 3-3. It's totally back to the drawing board. We're fucked, y'all, but hopefully it'll turn around. Yeah, the chat there, it's like, you know, such a small box that a few people chat. I come back after 5 hours. I'm not gonna read this. Like, I'm not gonna scroll up and read all the back and forth. It's just interesting the way conversation is sort of stimulated, or, you know, we're led to kind of ignore certain things in online interactions, the way interactions are framed materially through how we communicate. I definitely, you know, have really enjoyed working in person again since about October. It's kind of crazy that I didn't work until October in person. I worked the pandemic teleconference only until October of last year. So for 2.5 years, essentially. Or 2 years and 5 months. And yeah, so it's been really cool. Yeah, it's been you know, quite a while now that I've been working in person, and I'm really enjoying it. It's just, you get so much more information, and I mean, I like talking to people online, and, like, you know, like streaming and having the chat and everything. It's really fun. But yeah, it's just interesting how certain modes of communication are, like, stimulated, especially short modes of communication, especially short expectations for back and forth. You know, different modes will stimulate different anticipation of how frequent the back and forth is going to be. If you're emailing someone, you're maybe expecting a response in the next 48 hours. If you message someone on Discord, depending on how you know them, it could be the same, or it could be, in the next 48 seconds. So it's, not that, you would ever expect that necessarily, but it could be a pretty big range. What is the ideal mode? I don't know, but, there's all kinds of different modes of, it's just interesting. You want to think about how the structure, I guess this relates to what we've been talking about with art, how form and function interact. I guess that's what I'm talking about too. Yeah, I'm doing good though. So like life-wise, today I'm recording late. I was, what was I doing? Oh yeah, earlier in the day I was just talking to some friends and family, and then I was out with some friends this evening. I caught the sunset, and we were kicking around a soccer ball and just hanging out, and it was fucking fun. So that was good. I'm doing good. Getting back to work tomorrow. A few clients, medium week in terms of busyness. And other than that, I should get a few side stuff done with work. I should, keep doing some more reading. I should also, there's some other side stuff. Oh yeah, I don't know. What was the I don't know. There were a few things I'm always like noting. Oh, I could do this to augment. I don't know. Maybe it's just learning about different. I want to find more like continuing education things. It's good to do that. And I can, if I pay money for something like that, it's a few $100. Sometimes you have to pay to like go to some seminar. But you do learn a few things, and you can deduct that because I have my own business, so I can deduct. That's an expense, meaning I deduct it from my income, meaning my income is reported as a lower amount than by that amount, I guess, or a percent of that amount, meaning I pay slightly less in tax. So I guess what it works out to is you're basically just saving a little money. You're still spending money, of course. But I am a self-employed citizen, and I get to, deduct. That's my right as a human being. Okay, so I think it's oh my god, I was just literally gonna end the podcast, but I just realized like sometimes I'll have a few notes and then I'll be like, oh, I'll just save the other ones for later. But like this one, I just realized I have to go to share about briefly. Because the note says living inductively, parentheses, like, for example, if I fail at this, then I'm not meant to do it. I have to talk about that because I was just talking about deducting. So living inductively. So I don't know. I just called it that. The idea of like living your life. So you're like, this is totally off topic, by the way. But I was just, one thing I thought would be interesting to talk about on the podcast was this idea I have sometimes of like, living our lives in a way where like, I guess when we're living our lives, there are different ways to go about it in terms of you could like come up with a lot of your principles, goals, desires and stuff, and then try to pursue them. Or, and this is not necessarily equally good, but you could pursue things and then sort of induce that that's your desire, goal, priority, motivation or whatever. Like there's always, I feel like, more top down and more bottom up ways to approach living as a conscious sentient creature. Just in terms of like how we exert our executive functioning. Fuck, the window's been open for this part of the podcast. Okay, well, it is what it is. I'm going to end soon. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. And my example, like, if I fail at this, then I'm not meant to do it. I don't think that's a good mentality all the time. You could say it's never a good mentality. I would disagree. I think there are times when it is healthy to say to yourself, if I fail at this, then I'm not meant to do it. I think that can be healthy. And I don't think that necessarily motivates you not to try. It can be totally separate from that. I feel like I've had this sort of mentality when I'm at big turning points in my life, just taking a big step and trying something new or something like that, and sort of giving myself permission to fail and saying, hey, because the thing is, you can fear failure because failure is scary. And it's like, fine to fear it. You just don't have to avoid the things you fear is the way I would put it. So it's like, okay, I might fail at this. And that's not the sentence doesn't end there. I mean, or the paragraph doesn't. It depends on how you phrase. The point is, life goes on, and then it's like, okay, well, yeah, I could fail. And I told myself that becoming a therapist. I was like, hey, I hope I'm meant to do this. I like the idea of doing this. I like the training I've had. I like the other things I've done. This seems like good. And I don't know. And hey, it's been 4.5 years and so far so good. But, you have to just give yourself permission to be like, I get that what I'm doing right now is a big deal for me. And that doesn't mean not trying. Like I said, that means trying your best and just being like, all right, I can't force life to be what I want it to be. I can try. You can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather. Did I just come up with that? I guess we'll end on that note since I just came up with a very nice expression. Wow. Did I come up with that? I got a few comments that my dry sense of humor is confusing to a few people. Some people don't even know if I'm joking about the Jeff bit. I'll never tell. The Jeff recast. So I'm going to chill for the night. I hope you enjoyed listening to the podcast. If you listened this far, you are one of the biggest fans of this podcast that has ever existed so far in our 16 episodes. Thank you so much for tuning in. Feel free to write into verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com. Let me know what you think. And have a great rest of your day, night, or middle time. Goodbye. This is a podcast or something like that.